This is chapter 1 from the Illustrator textbook, and this is the first exercise. This exercise is called Connect the Dots Logo Tour. And what you're going to do is the first step on page 4 is to download the data file from D2L. Once you download the data file, I recommend downloading the solution file so you can click back and forth and compare as you work on this assignment to make sure you're completing it correctly. Now, before you get started, I want to make sure that your workspace is set to Essentials Classic. The other thing is make sure your document setup, I should say preferences, is set up properly. So click on Preferences and under Type, make sure that this box is unchecked. Fill new type objects with placeholder text. If it has a check mark, uncheck it. And then under Preferences, make sure your points is set up. From the units, make sure everything is set up in points, stroke, and type. And once you check those and everything is set up properly, when you look at page 5, the step 3, you're to choose view and the actual size. So this is the actual size of your artboard. And what we're going to do is turn to page 6. And on page 6, we're going to make sure the layers is available. This is your layers panel. If it's not available, you go to window and you click on layers. Mine is checked, meaning it is available, as you can see here. Now, what we're going to do is use a template, which is called the napkin sketch. This is going to be a sketch of your actual shapes that you see in your solution file, the sun, the tulip, and so forth. So in order to bring that sketch forward, we have to place it on our artboard. However, we cannot place it with it being locked. So if I click here and go to place, I cannot access it. So the first thing I want to do is click on the napkin sketch, then unlock it. Then go to File and Places Now Available, and go to your document, and this should be downloaded from D2L as well, and click on Logo Photoshop file. And as you can see, it's a sketch of the actual assignment you're going to be working on. When you click place, you just draw it into place. It's not going to fit in the artboard the way it should because we have to click the selection tool. Now I'm going to fit this in all in my window so I can see it, and then I'm going to use my selection tool and resize it to the actual size of my artboard by just clicking around the edges as I'm doing here and making sure it fits exactly the way it is here. Now once it fits in properly, instructions is going to tell us we need to lock that back in place, and then we need to save our document. So we're going to go Save As. And the reason why we're doing Save As is because we're going to change the name. And we want to add our first and last names before the actual document name. And click Save. Yours will not say replace because it'll be the first document you're typing the first time you type in this or saving it. Now, the next step, we have to draw the sky. And the sky guide needs to be available so we know how to draw it. So you go to the sky guide, and it's here, and you click this toggle switch to make it visible. Now you see this little square and it makes it visible. And if you're going to draw the sky guide, you have to be on draw sky. You cannot draw it without being on this here layer right here. And it's actually a rectangle shape. So your shapes are here, but you have to press this little arrow to activate and click on rectangle. Now you'll see rectangle. The other thing is, if you look, the sky guide is a lavender color. So we have to go to our swatches panel and we click on lavender. Make sure that the fill is over the stroke and that there is none selected as is shown here. Once you do that, we're just going to draw the square using our guide and make it the same size. And once we do that, we have this lavender scale square. So what I'm going to do is make it invisible. And then I'm going to lock it in place and make that invisible and save my work. So we've just drawn the sky. Now it's still there under the layers when I make it visible, but we're going to work with each one of these shapes individually. So after we draw the sky, we're going to go to page 8 and draw the sun. And this is your sun right here. Now your sun is white. The color of your sun is white, as you can see here. So we have to change the color from the swatches to white. As you can see, the fill is now white, stroke is on none. So that's good. Now what we need to do is draw a star tool. And that's under shapes. Hold that down and go to star tool. So once we have the star tool activated, what we need to do is make sure we're on that guide. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the sun guide and click it to reveal it, and you can see the shape come available. And then you need to click on Draw Sun. So you need those two layers. One is activating it, the guide, and one is clicking to draw. Now, in order to draw it, what you need to do is click in the middle. Remember, we're on Star Tool, so when we click in the middle, for people on Windows, you want to click on the Alt key and hold it down and just click once. And then you open up this star panel. The directions in the book tell us that the radius 1 must be set to 1.25. If it's not, you type it in there. Radius 2 should be set to 0.65. And this here star should have 15 points. So you just click the arrow and make it 15 points and say, okay. So now we have our star. Now, the problem is the size of it. We have to resize it. So what we're going to do is click on the selection tool and be careful. I'm just going to bring it up. It's not going to be exact, so do not try to make sure that these overlap exactly. What you're doing now is just sizing it. So I can look at the points to see that it meets the size on the top. I'm going to bring it over to the right to make sure it meets the size there. I'm going to bring it down. Now, I'm not going to make too much adjustments on the left because I have my tulip there and I don't want it to overlap on my tulip. So I might even bring that in just a tad so it doesn't overlap on my tulip. So that looks fine. So now the instructions in the book tells us we need to take the sun guide and not make it available. Click that and then uncheck the draw sun. So that's fine now. I'm going to lock the draw sun in place and again click save. Now the next step is drawing the grass. My grass is down here, as you can see. If I click here, you can see it's green. So I'm going to change the color right quick from the color swatches to that dark green. And the fill is green. The stroke is a none. So then I'm going to close that out for now. And I need to go to the grass. So the grass guide is here. Bring it up and you're going to see it's numbered. And then I'm going to click on draw grass because I'm about to draw grass. Now, in order to draw grass, I need the pen tool. If you click here, this is the pen tool. So when I click this arrow, then I can see my pen tool if it's not activated here. Once I'm on a pen tool, you got to be very careful. When you click these dots, you have to click them exactly. If you click anywhere else, you're going to be drawing. So I'm going to click in the center of number 1. Then I'm going to click in the center number 2. You see a little yellow light shadow of a line. Click 3. Now the green is filling. Click 4. Now this is where we stop. For 5, I need to click and I'm going to drag it because I need to get this shape here. So when I click, hold it, drag it, and I'm going to go over to this second shape here. And as you can see, it made it oval. Then I'm going to click here and now I have the shape. It's not going to be exact, but it looks close enough. So that's fine. Now this is where you have to be careful. Do not click anywhere but the selection tool because you're in the pen tool and you don't want to activate any more lines. So I activated this here tool. And then what I want to do is make this grass invisible. So I click both of them and then I'm going to lock the draw glass. So that's fine. Now let's see what we're going to draw next. So the next thing we're going to do is the flowers. And we're going to draw flowers and that's on page 10. And we're going to unhide the tulips guide. So this is the tulip guide. Bring it up and it's numbered as well. I'm going to click on draw tulips. And what I need to do is the color of the tulips. We have to change it to purple. So we go to our swatches panel, click on purple. And purple is actually a fill color and it's overlapping in non-stroke. So when you want fill, it has to overlap as we've done here. So now I need my pen tool again, activate that and start the numbering. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now when I get to 5, you see that oval? So when I click on 5, I'm going to hold it and go across to bring that shape. Go to 6, 7, and 8. So now I've just drawn my tulip. Looks pretty good. It doesn't have to be exact. Before I click anywhere, I must deactivate that pen tool. Now I'm going to click on the pen tool. I'll click it twice to make sure I select it. And then instead of drawing this again all over from scratch, I'm just going to copy it, edit, copy, and then I'm going to choose paste. And now I just pasted another one, but all I have to do now is resize it. So it's making it that make it much easier, and I don't have to draw this shape again because I've just copied and pasted it. So now I have this second shape right here, and it looks pretty good. So that's fine right there. I'm going to bring this down just a tad, and I have my shape, and it's filling in the tulip. Now that the tulip is there, I'm going to unhide it, and here, lock it in place, and click Save. Okay, so we've gotten everything done. Not the last step, but we need to do the stems right here. Now let's see what color these stems are. These stems are actually the lighter green. So I'm going to go to my color swatches, and I'm going to click on the lighter green color. Now this is a little different. The book doesn't tell you this, but you need this fill to be green, and you need this to be green. So I'm going to make my stroke green as well. So I want both of them green, okay? The book doesn't tell you this, and this is the only way this is going to work. Now, you need the line tool, but before we do the stems, we have to click on the stem guide to guide us. So we're going to go to stem and make that available. Now you see it, and we're going to click on the stem and leaves, okay? So now we see the stem and the leaves. So what we want to do now is draw with the line tool. So I'm going to click on the line tool, start from the bottom. But I have to unlock this. To draw these stems, you have to make sure you clicked on the draw stems because you're drawing. You have to make sure that your stems is available so you can see them. And then if you click on it, now you see the guides, right? So you're going to make sure that the fill and the stroke is set to green. You click on your line tool, but your stroke must be at 7 point. So you click on 7 point. Now you start from the bottom and you just work your way up and you draw your line. Now, if the line is not exactly where you want it to be, just nudge it over with your left or right arrow key. So I have my line where I want it. Now, in order to do the second one, you do the same thing from the bottom and just go up and again, nudge it over. So now I have the two stems, okay? Now, this here is what we call the leaves. So we want to draw the leaves. But to draw the leaves, I need to hold down my toolbar here for my shapes and do ellipse. Now, when working with the ellipse, you must click in the middle here and just draw a circle, okay? So I'm going to do it again, click and draw a circle. I want my circle to be the same size. Now, if that happens where it's right here, where the fill came off, just click on it and you can bring your fill back in. Now, you're going to have 4 sides. Pay very careful attention because I need to do an anchor point to make it look like these 2 points at the end. So watch what I do. I'm going to the pen tool, hold it down and click anchor. Now, if I click my anchor point here, I must click it on the opposite side. So that's done. Now deactivate that by clicking the selection tool. Now remember, I put my points here, right? So this is where I'm going to expand it. So these points must match here. So I just turn it around and I can bring it over and then I just drag it. So now my points match and those are my leaves. Now instead of drawing these 2 leaves here, I'm just going to do a copy and paste. Now I'm going to bring this one over and just size it up, bring it down, and I can even size it to the left and to the right if it's a little too big, okay? And then rather than use and paste again, which I could, I'm just going to copy and paste this one so that it matches the other one. They're about the same size. So I'm going to say copy, and then I'm going to say paste, and then I'm going to bring this one down over here and just bring the points to where the points should be. And you use the end, and once you get this little round circle, you can drag it this way and then just resize it the way you want it. And I'm going to bring that one over a little. Oops, made it a little bit too tight. Bring it over and just play with it. I'm going to pause this video. Now it's drawn the leaves, and what you're going to do is hide this and lock that in place and take the leaves off and the stems, because now we're going to work on the last step. And what we're going to do is we're going to change this fill color to black, and I'm going to set up the parameters and tell you what your fill is black. Make sure it's non-stroke. Make sure you reveal your text guide by clicking this, and it brings up the text guide, and make sure you're on draw text. So when you're on draw text, I'm going to